All set. Good evening. I'd like to call this September 12th meeting of the Northfield Township Board of Trustees to order. Let's stand for the invocation and then the pledge.
Could we have something in that that says to look after the people that's foreign and domestic on all these problems that we got with the weather? Can we mention them, please?
Well, why don't we let Mr. Dockett do it?
I'll say this.
You go ahead and add it in.
Everybody should keep anybody foreign and domestic that's had a problem with the storm in their prayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Then the invocation's finished. Let's do the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job. Thank you. Please call the roll, Clerk Manley.
Bellinger.
Here.
Dockett.
Here.
Zelenock.
Present.
Shockley.
Here.
Manley here. Otto. Here. Chick. Here.
Okay, we're all here, and we have a quorum. We have our township manager, our department heads, lots of members of the public. Thank you for coming. And our attorney. Welcome, everyone. Okay. The next item is to the consent agenda, and so you have in your packet minutes, department head reports, zoning administration report as part of the consent agenda. Do any of those need to be pulled out for discussion? Mr. Dockett.
Minutes and the community center report.
Okay, so we will take those immediately before the other reports. So we have minutes and the community center reports. Ms. Bellinger, do you have anything?
The minutes. Thanks.
Okay.
And we're gonna have them what before the other reports? Is that?
Pardon?
We're gonna have them first.
We'll have them before we might as well, right before the other reports.
Thank you very much.
Shoot. Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the balance of the agenda?
So moved.
A motion by Chick and support by
I'll support.
Ms. Manley to adopt the balance of the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay. Now we have an opportunity for call to the public. This is your chance to come up and speak to us about anything that's on your mind. You have up to 3 minutes. Please state your name and your address, and welcome. Be sure to turn on your the microphone and hold it up to your mouth so that everybody can hear you, even on TV.
Hi, how you guys doing?
Thank you.
You know, when Howard called my phone the first time I came up here when I was familiar with Whitmore Lake, I kept completely quiet, and the attorney and the officer
What's
didn't
your
wanna
name,
listen.
sir, and your
Chad
address?
Marchant. I live in Whitmore Lake.
Oh, Chad, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And what's your address, sir?
Barker Road.
Okay. Thank you.
So when I first had Howard call my phone and ream me out for coming with what I thought was okay to do because it was a call to the public, I didn't say anything. When I had one of your officers pull me over when I was driving my Cadillac before my wife wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and the first question he asked me wasn't was I speeding or anything like that, but the only crime I committed was the fact that he thought I was driving a stolen Cadillac. I didn't say anything. When I didn't tell the cop, because my understanding on the laws for conceal and carry was that I didn't have to form him if I didn't have a pistol on me. And I was following the law, but he threatened to get my gun rights taken away. Didn't say anything to any of you guys. As a matter of fact, I've been nothing but kind and nice. And now I'm pissed. So before I say what I really want to say, I'm probably going to piss a lot of you off.
Sir.
When I did that, I didn't say a word. I appreciate you guys putting the sidewalk in. I don't know how long that took, but I came here a while ago and I told you guys that if my wife and kids were to get hit, I would be talking to a lawyer instead of you because there needed to be a sidewalk in, and you did that, and I appreciate every bit of that. What I don't appreciate is a code enforcement guy pulling up, not parking in my driveway, not announcing himself. I have 3 little girls at home and a wife. I live by a trailer park that has a heroin epidemic going on in it and a lot of 16-year-old drug dealers. And I get a guy with a code enforcement thing stapled on his thing, and then all of a sudden he's going to take pictures of a house because of a complaint that was made. Two things. One, that complaint was found to be false. But now that's the straw that broke the camel's back. If any more of this corrupt crap goes on, like Barb Griffith taking money from Northfield when they had their own little Northfield chamber and put it into the DDA, moving $25,000, or if you guys can't figure out what to do with that park because somebody's mad about whatever pennies are not being spent or whatever, and you guys can't come together as a community, I promise I'm going to find every single person to run against you guys and we will win. I promise you that. I promise every bit. How do you have a code enforcement guy with a magnetic label that just throws it on his truck and decides he's going to pull up and take pictures and not announce himself? My rights have been infringed on more than one time, and I haven't said anything to anyone about it. So my conversation is no longer going to be with you guys. Mr. Mays, right? You're the attorney? I promise you, you'll be talking to Bill Amadeo of McManus PLLC. I'm tired of getting walked on. I'm tired of cops not knowing their laws. I'm tired of dealing with the corruption in this community and the politics that are going on. And just so you guys know, there is a provision in the provision and all the stuff that goes on. If anybody has a problem with the mattress being on my thing or toys for my kids, by all means, please come try to say something and tell me that's against code. Yeah, I know. Give me one more second. When you want to show up at my doorstep and talk crap about somebody because they're not doing the right job, remember, you're part of the same group that wanted her out like you. When you want to do that. When my wife almost died giving birth and I couldn't make it to the Kiwanis meetings, where were either one of you knocking on my door helping to give food, helping anything? Nobody was aware, asking me anything. So you guys don't know what struggles people are going on out there. You're more concerned about a conservative viewpoint, which is fine, than you're doing for the right town. You work for these people. You work for the people and nobody else.
Thank you, Mr.
And even though now that I'm done with that, I'm going to say this other part. Even though I pissed you off, and I'm probably the wrong person to say anything, but a provisional center needs to go in this town. There's too many people here with too many ailments, too many cancer patients going through too many problems, and people are worried about what it looks like. It's better than getting it from the 16-year-old on a street in the trailer parks. It's better than any slick Rick trying to do something. It's more regulated, even though it's not that regulated. It brings in tax dollars, and I can promise you this. Let somebody like me who wants to better the town come in and do that. I promise you'll have your apartment buildings back, you'll have your beach back, and people will come here, and it won't be the place people forgot about. So I'm going to drop the mic. I know it is. I'm going to drop the mic, but here's the deal. You guys work for the community. Put all your heads together, come together, find out what you want to do about the park, find out what you want to do about anything else, just like you did the sidewalk. I know you can do it. But as far as anything's concerned, don't violate my rights and step on anything to do with my family. If that code enforcement guy comes out and he doesn't knock on the door and announce himself, we have every right to get him off our lot, and our landlord wasn't too happy about it either.
Let's get together and talk about this, Mr. Marchant. I appreciate you coming before us for this, and we do need to take a look at some of these issues, so I appreciate that.
And as far as economic development, and I appreciate you responding, as far as economic development, provisional center.
Thank you.
And I'll be more cordial next time and well-dressed.
Okay, thanks. Do we have anyone else who would like to come up and speak at this time? No, go ahead. Welcome.
My name's Jack Seacrest. I live on Nala Road. I'm a member of the Downtown Planning Group that the Board of Trustees constituted a couple of years ago, recently appointed to the DDA. And I noticed that you have a presentation from McKenna this evening, so I wanted to say just a couple words relative to that. When we first started with the Downtown Planning Group, fairly early on, McKenna got involved to help us along, and we certainly needed the help. I was a little bit uncertain about that because I have been involved over a lot of years with putting together plans that were aided by or facilitated by outside groups. And most of the time, well, I won't say most of the time, but often, the plan ends up looking like some plan that they had used previously that came off their shelf, that they massaged a little bit, and it became our plan. That's not what we needed here in Whitmore Lake, and I was a little worried about that at the time. The person from McKenna who has helped us the most and through most of this is Paul Lippens, who's here tonight to make the presentation. And I wanted to say that he's been great. He has, first of all, he sat down and he listened to the downtown planning group. He's very knowledgeable. He raised issues. He talked to us about all of these things, presented things we hadn't thought about, and did a great job of sort of interfacing with the group about learning about Whitmore Lake and about learning about Northfield Township. He's done a wonderful job in interfacing with the community members that have come forth and put in their input in one way or another to both the North Village area and then the downtown strategic plan. And he's also been very interactive with business folks in the community. He's been a tremendous positive force, and I thought I'd let all of you know that that's the case, and that's all I'd like to say.
Thank you very much. Do we have anyone else who'd like to come up at this time to speak to us? Welcome. Hi.
David Gibbons of 8985 Garfield. I have two minor things. One of them I believe is Bill, but I've never talked to you personally about it. We have signs on the construction zone out here on both sides that the speeding limit is going to be strictly enforced, and I never see officers out there. I was wondering if we could at least put a car out there, maybe slow people down, or put something out there. I drive here to Brighton and to Ann Arbor all times during the day and night, and people are doing 70 at the slow lane at best. And I'm just curious why we're not using that as a moneymaker. If we write the tickets, don't we get part of the money? That's my concern. Secondly, I'd also like to remind you guys about the legal marijuana or the medical marijuana. I think provision or a dispensary in this town would be fantastic. You guys can set fees, you can set application fees, it could be money, and we know the place. We have plenty of open places that they could do business in. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Do we have anyone else out there? Okay. Mr. Wagner, is there any possibility that you can address the speeding and I guess maybe not the other item because you'll need to have a little more meeting, but...
So the US 23 is in general the jurisdiction of Michigan State Police. Now, that's not to say that we don't set out there, and we have set out there, but the idea of us being a moneymaker is not a factual statement. Do we get some money from a ticket that we may write? Yeah, we may get a little. If it's challenged, we'll probably lose money by paying the officer overtime to go to court type of thing. So having said that, though, we have written quite a few tickets out there. I can't speak for Michigan State Police. I know they do have details because I do hear them out there through the whole stretch of the construction, whether it's in Green Oak, Northfield, or Ann Arbor Township, and even up near the triple deckers. So, but it's a timing thing. You'd have to be right there to see them at the time that they're doing it, or see them pulling somebody over. So, we do. When we're able to, but there's, again, we're getting, with this construction, and we knew it would happen, we get many complaints, not just on the highway, but on our side streets that we do patrol. So now that the bridges are for the most part complete, I think that's going to get better. It seems that traffic has gotten better. So
Great.
If that answers the question.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Yep.
Okay, next item we have then is board member comments. Ms. Bellinger.
I wanted to mention that the donation report that I've asked for came in, and it is indicating that we have a $250 donation to the dog park 100 for Parks and Rec, and still there was a donation balance, I guess, from last year, $2,140, $41 for the non-motorized path. Wanted to just mention that. A constituent mentioned to me that they'd like to, and this is perhaps a very good idea, maybe we could have a late one day in the office hours for residents, for customers that maybe need to come into the office after work, maybe one night a week, maybe it's to 6 p.m. for a couple of the office staff that can maybe help to handle some of the constituents' concerns. Just a thought, and that was a suggestion, and it sounded like a reasonable one to me. Maybe we could find a couple people that would agree to maybe come in late on one day and stay an hour later, stay till 6 or something. So this was something. And the other thing I wanted to mention was regarding donations. There was a question and answer in our MTA, and I want to read just briefly. A resident would like to make a cash contribution to our township's recreation program and wants to receive a tax deduction on his individual income tax return. Is this possible? Well, the answer is yes. There's a couple details, but yes. So just for the individuals that would maybe like to contribute, I wanted to pass that along. That's it for right now. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Do we have Mr. Dockett?
Yes, I want to talk about the dog letter, about the dog shop. I asked to have that letter read at the last meeting. Marlene Shockley said that the letter was too long to read at the meeting. Now Marlene says that Sarah is trying to get out of a lease. That is about what I expected from Marlene. That's only her opinion. My opinion is Sarah tried to open a business in Northfield Township. Northfield Township is not friendly or helpful to businesses. We all know this. All you have to do is read the Current or check out the Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dockett. Do we have anyone down here who would like to make a comment right now? No? Okay. Ms. Zelenock.
I just have a few things. One is a reminder that taxes are due September 14th on Thursday. We do have a drop box, so you can drop it all the way up until midnight, or actually before the office opens at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it won't not be late. It's just a reminder. Also, I was contacted by Teddy, and I can't remember her last name, about a CDC grant. Seems that there's money available, needs to be spent. By the end of the month, I have contacted all the trustees to get ideals. I have asked Mr. Ains, our township manager, to take it over as far as getting ideals and seeing if we can use that money. If we do not use it, it will go to a different township, a different entity. And as Mr. Ains, he may speak more to it, indicated, we have to see what the requirements are. And again, it did come pretty late. Talked to us on September 7th. We had a follow-up meeting on September 11th, and we are still waiting for details from them. But anyway, that is out there, and I have talked to the trustees as well as the officers and Mr. Ains on that. The other thing is, I think as a whole, and I think everybody is aware, potentially we need to look at our procedures and how we process people coming in for development, because we have places zoned and we want the development where it's zoned, be it commercial or residential. And I think we need to look at our process to see where we can get some improvements if necessary, but to really promote that, yes, we are open for business. Yes, we do want business as it's zoned, and I think we need make that a priority, certainly when we have our offsite, if not before. I think that will do it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, our offsite will actually be on-site here.
Yes.
So we have some headphones available. So I want to address our zoning administration process a little bit here, since that came up on social media recently. And, I know landlords and realtors are anxious to sell their properties. or rent their properties, and tenants and buyers are anxious to get in. But a lot of times they don't know what all the ramifications are that they're selling, and the tenants and the buyers don't know what they can actually do on the property a lot of times. So it's really important that if you're thinking about buying a piece of property or renting something, to actually find out what can be used for. And that's where the zoning compliance comes in. If they come into the office and apply for a zoning compliance, our zoning administrator is very good at telling people what the property can be used for. So you fill out your zoning compliance and you say, I want to have a yarn shop, or I want to do gardening or landscaping or whatever it is. And she'll look and make sure that it fits with the zoning in the area, so you don't have any problems when you would either buy or rent a piece of property. And that's a process. So if you come in, you make the application, and provide all of the information that's needed to make the decision, it goes relatively quickly. A lot of times the site plan is required. If there's a change of use, that can be a little more involved, but it goes relatively quickly if you provide the information that's requested. And sometimes we have people not wanting to provide that information, or not understanding the information that they need to provide, and that's where we can get better. I've looked at what's on our website, and I think we can be a little better about the descriptions. But other than that, I know that our zoning administrator works very carefully with people who come in to make sure to help them get what they need to get out of the process. And you'll see in your packet there's a great many zoning compliance applications in this last month that have been approved, and the couple that were denied because you can't build something in the setback. That's just not allowed. Or she's also working with the one that was denied to actually get that approved. They needed to bring back some different plans. So it's not that we don't want it, we want correct, So, and that will be an amenity and a benefit to the entire community if we can follow the rules. Now, if the rules need to be changed, and sometimes we get that, the ZBA finds, the Zoning Board of Appeals finds that there's multiple cases where they need to give waivers. If the rules need to be changed, we can have the Planning Commission look at that. And that's where board members can make suggestions, the public can make suggestions, and the board can task the Planning Commission with looking at those changes that might be needed. So when things play out on social media, the whole story's not there, and that's not necessarily an appropriate way to do things. But it will be more useful to get lists of things that can be done better.
That's right. You're not telling the whole story.
Mr.
$950 it costs you to
Mr.
go
Doggett.
there. And that is terrible. We have to do something about that. That's
Mr.
criminal.
Doggett,
Well, tell the rest of the story.
it's not your turn.
Tell the rest of the story. Don't sit there and not tell what it costs.
No, wait a minute. Let's not get into the argument here. But we really do need to handle this appropriately as a community.
$850.
Mr. Dockett, a zoning compliance is $200 for a business. And then it tends to be
I'm talking about you. Yeah, but they're not going to let you do anything for $250. You got to go in front of the Planning Commission.
Okay. Anyway,
They're $850.
we are moving on. I have stated my case here.
So
and
have I.
We're not dealing with this item on our agenda tonight. So the next item we have is correspondence and announcements. Does anyone have any correspondence that they would like to bring forward? Ms. Bellinger.
The board got a letter from a lady who's having an issue regarding DTE and the new smart meters that went in about a year ago or half a year ago around the area. Basically, in a nutshell, she has the old meter, I guess, the traditional meter that have worked for many, many years, and she went ahead and put a lock on that. And apparently a lot of people do have locks on their meters and have through the years. And DT now claims that a lock on there is defined as quote-unquote a hazard. And they were going to shut off her power, even though she has paid all her bills. There's been no problem with payments. They're going to shut off her power. They gave her a notice, evidently, because she wouldn't accept the new device, new meter devices. There's a lot of people in the state of Michigan, actually in the country, that are not happy with the new devices, claiming they're invasion of privacy, and some people find some kind of health issues with them. But anyhow, she sent us a letter and with regards to that, and I wanted to let people know that we got that, and it's possible that we can join 40 other public bodies in the crafting and adopting of a resolution stating that we understand this concern and so forth. The resolution could then be sent to the Michigan Public Service Commission and perhaps other public bodies. So that's one thing. Like I say, she's not the only customer or person I've met in the township that has had issues with this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other correspondence we have from anyone? No? Okay. Moving on, minutes. We had the request to pull the minutes out for possibly some changes. Let's look at the August 15th minutes. Ms. Bellinger, you had a change?
Yeah, on the August 15 minutes, on page 2, agenda item number 1, which will be the top of the second page, where it has to the motion, we have a 6-1 on a roll call vote, but there's no indication of who was the nay vote.
Oh.
I believe that probably is Wayne.
We'll accept that correction.
And on page number 3, I would like to have added to discussion item number 1, the agenda revision. I would like to have our recorder add that a sentence or a note in there that adjusting the public comment to 2 minutes was suggested by the supervisor.
And
Because there was a suggestion that it was brought that we could perhaps reduce the public comment to 2 minutes, and this was brought by the supervisor. I wanted to have that mention added to the agenda revision, item number 1.
agenda revision. Okay. You can add that. I brought that from the Michigan Township Association meeting.
The MSU, yes.
That was from the Michigan Town.
Yes, on the 15th, August 15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, page 3, it's under discussion item number 1, agenda revision, where we were discussing keeping the meeting shorter. And supervisor brought that she had received a suggestion to adjust the public comment to 2 minutes, and this was suggested by the supervisor. That's all I have on that one. I don't know if anybody else found anything in the August 15th minutes.
Yeah. Right, and that suggestion came from the Michigan Township Association in order to focus the comments on the agenda items at the beginning of the meeting. So that's where that came from. And there had been talk in this body of trying to keep the meetings a little shorter, and Julie Pliak of
MSU training.
MSU, yes. She suggested that people start to repeat themselves after 2 minutes, and so that she said 2 minutes was enough. But that's where I brought that up. I didn't say we should change it to 2 minutes. Mr. Dockett.
We did not change it.
We did not change it, and we did not focus it on the specific agenda items. Yes.
Okay, I have something.
Are we still on the 15th or the 30th?
We're still on
29th?
the 15th, and we were with your comments. Do you have more on the 15th?
That's all I have. I don't know if
Okay.
anybody else had anything on the 15th.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Dockett, you have a correction?
Either one, or you're all done?
This was only the 15th. We have the 29th to do after
Right.
the 15th.
We're
is
still
done.
on the 15th, though. Does anyone else have anything on the 15th? No? Okay. All right, on the 29th. Ms. Bellinger, you had some
Yes, I'd
changes?
like to, on the first page, under item number 2, People's Express funding request, the second paragraph where it begins, board members made comments about, I would like that to read, Trustee Bellinger made comments about People's Express exemption, blah, blah, blah.
No, I'm
Wayne can't hear you, I'm sorry, Wayne can't hear you. Oh, you're not plugged in.
Yeah. Here. Yeah.
Yep.
The minutes were changed substantially, the way they were done a couple of years ago based on concerns.
I can't hear what you're saying.
That things not be attributed to individuals, that comments be general, that,
Well, I'm not saying you do anything wrong, I just would like to have that.
I'm just trying to tell you why I don't do things like that. That every comment cannot attribute it to anyone, because that's what I understood the attorneys recommended. That there be general comments, a summary of what was topics touched on, and the board wanted them to be shorter, so attributing every comment to individuals took up much more space and made them long. So
That mic is not working.
Okay.
Yeah, the green light is on.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Maines, would you like to respond to Ms. Lumble's comment?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I don't know whether you remember Trustee Ballinger, but not too long ago, we had a substantial piece of litigation the township was involved in, which was the Grand Saqua litigation. As a part of that litigation, the plaintiffs actively made an attempt to use the minutes of the township against the township in that litigation by specifically calling out essentially individual trustees' comments and trying to use them against them and against the township. As a result, we encouraged the board to try not to have the minutes be a transcript where it's sort of X trustee said Y, A trustee said B, because that's not really the intention of minutes, is to have them be a transcript, but sort of a summary of what went on. But Ms. Lumble's absolutely correct. The board may do as it pleases with regards to how it keeps its minutes. That was just our recommendation for mitigation of litigation purposes.
Yeah, thank you, I wasn't here for the Grand Saqua fund.
Oh,
So thank you for the update.
I'd like to ask, don't we tape it? Aren't there tapes available?
We
I mean,
do,
what's
but
the difference if it's in the minutes?
I think
I'm just asking, what's the difference if it's in the minutes or on the tape?
I think that the tapes are only preserved for a limited amount of time.
Or they should be. We don't have to
Videos?
archive them at all.
Excuse me?
We don't have to archive our videos at all. The minutes we do. But that is also the MTA recommendation as well, is that they just be kept to business and not so much comments.
Right.
Okay, I have one more,
Does that mean you're requesting to have your name put in there anyway?
I'll go on the recommendation of the attorney on that.
Okay.
And he would like to keep it more vague, so we'll leave it more vague. On page, another item, there's a typo, the name on the last page, number 3, under second call to public, Jerry is with the G.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I would like to make a change to the number 3. Under non-motorized path, we should have packet instead of passage there in the motion. That's just a typo. And then going with our attorneys, well, let's see, do we have any more changes for August 29th? Mr. Dockett?
Front page, top right. On August 29th meeting, I asked to be on the next agenda to get the total cost of the fire millage election. We had $4,381 in the packet, and then it said plus the cost of printing the ballots, which I don't know how much that is, plus cleaning the school, which I don't know how much that is. And of course, I'm not on the agenda that I asked to be on. So does anybody have these numbers for me?
We don't have the numbers from the county yet, so that's why it's not on the agenda.
How about the school?
I think she just got the school in. I don't have that figure. We were waiting for the number for the county.
And how
to do
am I
everything.
going to get that?
As soon as I get it, I will get it to you, and we'll get it on the agenda packet.
Okay.
But the county's working on getting the new equipment out and training these couple weeks, so that's why we haven't gotten anything yet.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, any more on 29? August 29th? Okay, then going back, since Ms. Bellinger took the prerogative to not have her name listed there, I would like to just say that we really don't need the change to the agenda revision on page 3 of August 15th, adding the supervisor wanted 2 minutes for the call to the public time at the beginning. I think that's not necessary. Okay, so can I have a motion to adopt the minutes as amended slightly? I'll make that motion. Do I have a second? Okay, motion by Chalkley, support by Chick. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, minutes passed. Thank you. Okay, next item, Senior Center report. Mr. Dockett, you wanted that pulled out?
Yes.
Okay.
It's not in this report, but in the minutes, in the bills. I said, when I was looking over the bills this month, I see that it cost Northfield Township $700 to show 70 people a movie. That's $10 a piece each. Now that's only for the movie. Now, that's only for the screen. And I don't know if the movie's extra. I don't know if there's popcorn, sandwiches. I don't know, but it was over $700. That's $10 a piece. I'm thinking that maybe we should rethink this. I believe you could go see a matinee for $5. So I'm wondering about paying $10 a piece to watch a movie. Thank you.
Okay, comment noted, Mr. Dockett. Ms. Otto?
So I think that you could probably address all the children in Whitmore Lake who do go and see those movies, because it's a totally different atmosphere than going into a movie theater. You are on the side of the lake. It's an outside. People bring their own food, their own chairs. It's just a totally different atmosphere. And it is, you are able to have more communications with people that you visit, that are there watching the movie with you. So if you want to take this away, I think that you address it with the kids.
I didn't say I want to take it away. I said it's $10 for a movie. That's quite a bit of money for 70 people.
Okay.
It's $10 a piece.
Maybe we need more turnout.
Or take donations. Okay. Tammy?
Continue working on getting the turnout up. But also...
The mic's not working. It's not working.
Is the light on?
The light.
Okay.
But I will continue to work on getting the attendance up. We are getting actually a very good deal on the screen. They do usually charge more than that, but because we've been consistent for the last 4 years, he does give us a discount, about, I want to say $100, $150 discount per night. And he's been giving us a larger screen as well. So all in all, it is a good deal. I know it sounds like a lot, but also for just the community spirit that it's been bringing. We've had boats coming across and watching from the boats, and Living Water Church now is providing concessions that are available for like 25 or 50 cents, where people can purchase chips and candy bars and cookies and that sort of thing. Water. That's been good because we've been able to partner with them now, so I haven't had to provide some of that. And so,
Okay.
I invite everyone to come down. We have one this Friday, The Secret Life of Pets.
I don't know what you did,
Okay.
but I can hear you now.
Can you
But
hear me now?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This Friday on the what time is it?
It's at dusk, so I'm guessing somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock. So when it just gets dark enough for it to be seen on the screen.
Okay,
So, but since the sun's going down earlier, I'm guessing right around 8.
okay. Okay, everybody on the shores of the lake tonight, Friday night, thank you. Anybody else? Okay.
What's playing on Friday?
The Secret
Secret
Life
Life of Pets.
Pets.
I have not seen it, but it's been getting oohs and ahs from people when I mention it, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, the next item on the agenda is the ZBA report. Has there been any meetings, Ms. Otto?
Yes, we did have one meeting on the third Monday in August. It was for a variance for Bobber Down. It was for the back and side yard setback, and the board approved it. The next meeting is September 18th.
It was what? What was it for?
It was for, because they're expanding their building,
Oh, okay.
and they needed a back and side yard setback variance.
Thank you. Okay. Planning Commission report.
The Planning Commission met September 6th. It was a pretty short meeting, and we discussed the zoning ordinance amendment for signs.
Okay, thank you. Parks and Rec report.
There wasn't a meeting since our last board meeting, but I could add that Chuck Storer was approved for another term, and the non-permanent path was approved by the board. So this isn't news to anybody here, but I just figured I'd mention it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Land Preservation Committee, Ms. Zelenock.
We will be meeting this Thursday. We are working on our bylaws and a presentation to the board.
Okay. Are they still planning on coming on September 26th?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay. And then our next item is the financial and treasurer's report and property tax overview.
Yep, I'm going to do just a brief presentation on the screen to explain what's in your package a little bit.
Okay.
In addition to that, I know the donation report was given out on Monday. I talked to Ms. Patrick, and the reason it wasn't initially included in the board package is there was no change from the prior meeting. However, I has asked Ms. Patrick, our controller, to include it if there's no changes or changes. So I think going forward, that'll be included either way.
Okay.
So I'm just going to take a brief moment and go through the information.
Okay.
How the logistics will work, but we'll find out soon.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, I think I'm just going to kind of kneel right here. And the first thing I'm going to bring up is what is on your first page. It just gives a property tax information overview of what we did. And I want to thank Dawn Sanfilippo, I probably said her name incorrectly, our deputy treasurer, for putting this together. She gets a lot of questions about what the different taxes are. And she thought this would be beneficial, as well as I, so she spent time doing this, and I spent time reviewing the information. So, again, what you'll see in their package is you have...
What page are you on?
We are on page 1 of 13, which is the Northfield Township Property Tax Information Overview. Okay, is everybody with us? So again, what you'll see in here is we have an overview of the first page describes the different taxes. The descriptions were found on the Washtenaw County website, as well as ballot proposals, as well as MLI, Ann Arbor Chronicle, Pittsfield Township. So we went through and tried to look at, and Dawn did this, to look at different sources to identify a definition of the different taxes that are in your tax bill. The second page actually shows the millage levied from each government unit. In addition, it has other information. It indicates the tax type. Is it a millage or an indefinite? And I'll explain that actually I can explain that now. A millage is a rate that has been voted on for a specific length of time and will have an expiration date. An indefinite rate is there is no specific expiration date. And you'll see when we get to the Whitmore Lake, we'll show some of the items that have the indefinite versus millage. So the tax information comes from an L4029, which is a form that we receive from each unit of government where we levy property taxes. We cannot levy property taxes without this. It tells us and authorizes us to go and collect the taxes. That's what we do, is we collect taxes that we're told to collect. We do it, we send out your summer taxes July 1st, and we usually get this form sometime in late March, April. May, we have to chase people to get it sometimes, because again, we cannot collect it until we receive it signed. And we have your December taxes as well. The only information that we use that you're seeing on this report is the millage. That is what we use that goes on your tax bill from the L4029. In addition, we did a few pie charts to show just in a percentage of your total taxes, and we will look at those shortly. So I'm going to go over to, and we will put this information on the website, and we'll have it at the office as well. So I'm going to look at Whitmore Lake School District, because we have 4 school districts. We have Whitmore Lake, South Lyon, Ann Arbor, and Dexter.
It'd be nice if we had page numbers.
You do, Mr. Dockett. They're on the right-hand corner.
They're right in the right-hand corner.
Upper right-hand corner, we are trying to find the best location so that we have a lot of detail. So we are on page 1 of 13.
I don't know about that.
Yep. So I'm going to go to the next page, which will be 2 of 13. And again, here is the descriptions. We, again, have 2 seasons. We have a summer season, and Whitmore Lake, we collect the Washtenaw County and the state ed tax. And then we have the winter season, which is for Whitmore Lake School District, where most of the taxes are. Again, I'm not going to go through each one, but it'll describe what the tax is for. Now on page 3 of 13, I'm good, but okay. On 3 of 13, it has the information. Again, this is only partial of the information we get from what we call the L4029, and in particular, it's the tax levy that goes on your tax bill. Again, we break it out by summer and winter. These schedules are shown in the order that you would see it on your tax bill. So we have, again, the type. Is it an indefinite, which is no expiration date? The levy, the authorize, the election when it occurred, again, the length and expiration date. So I'm going to go down to 1, Washtenaw Community College. Again, you see it actually is split. There are indefinite as well as millage. If you look at the indefinite, you can see that one of them was voted in 1965, and there is no expiration. One was voted in 1986, again, no expiration, and then you have 2 recently voted with expiration dates. At the bottom, we have the total is principal resident exemption. So if you have a resident and you apply for the principal resident exemption, your tax total for the Whitmore Lake School District is a total of 40.8965 mils. If you don't have the exemption, it's 58.89, which really, I'm going to go up to the top, and that's the 18 mils. So I'm just going to briefly show the other ones, but not in a lot of detail. Again, here is on page 4, you're going to have the description. And then page 5, you're going to have the detail. You can see in South Lyon, they collect their schools in summer. The other thing about South Lyon is they do Oakland Community College and Oakland ISD, not Washtenaw. So those are kind of the major differences. Going to Ann Arbor School District, again, you have your summer and your winter. And Ann Arbor School District, we collect taxes both in the summer and the winter. That's the major difference for them.
What page number is that?
It's page 7.
Yeah, if you give us the page number, we can follow you on it.
I will do that starting going forward. Thank you. So the next one is, I will go to the Dexter just to briefly show a little bit of the difference. And again, on page 8, you're going to have the description, and then on page 9, you're going to have the taxes. And here, a difference is they also pay Dexter Library in addition to Northfield Township Library. So that gives an overview of the different school districts and how taxes are levied and a definition of the taxes levied. So now I'm going to go to the graphs. And I'm going to have to take my package apart so I know the page number.
Oh, it's 10.
So it's 10 of 13. And so what we did here to show a graph is we lumped some of the millages together. You can see that we have Washtenaw County, we have the state ed as separate, we have the Whitmore Lake Schools, all their debt, recreation, Northfield Township, the library, the Township Police Fire, Building Bond, and Washtenaw Community College, and Washtenaw ISD, and our total of the 40 mills. Again, this is 100% principal resident exemption, so you're not paying the 18 mills for the schools. So we broke it down, and what we did here is we showed the percentages. So Northfield Township, out of the total tax bill, is 2% of the total taxes. Northfield Township Library is 30% of the total tax bill. The Northfield Township...
30
oh,
or 3?
No, 3%, thank you.
3, thank you.
Thank you. 3%. Northfield Township Police and Fire is 18%. And then we have the different ones. The schools is 26% out of your entire tax bill. State ed is 15, and Washtenaw County is 15, and the Washtenaw ISD is 13. I think I will show the south. What's the next pie chart? Go in order here. South Lyon. Thank you. So we're on page 11. Page 11, South Lyon. And again, you'll see that the total is 35, pretty much in their millage, and the big difference is the Oakland County College and the Oakland County ISD is about 2 points, millage points less than the Washtenaw County College and the Washtenaw ISD. So if we look, again, we take the percentages. Northfield Township, for if you're in the South Lyon School District, is about 2%. Northfield Township Library is 4%. The Northfield Township Police and Fire Building and the bond is 20%. And you can see here the ISD and the college is 9 to 4%. So again, we just wanted to show more of the percentage. You can actually see the mills. And I think I will stop at that and not go through the Dexter or the Ann Arbor. So it was just to give an overview of the millages, you know, indefinite versus what's voted on. And I will show one other graph. Now this is not in your package. What it does is it does it by school district, and it says what was the indefinite versus millage percentage. Again, the indefinite is indefinite. There's no timetable for its coming up. Millage is voted on. And you can see by school district that Whitmore Lake, the indefinite is 42%, the millages are 58. South Lyon is 39 for the indefinite vote, and then 61 voted. And Ann Arbor is 45 indefinite and 55% voted. And then going to Dexter, it's 44 to 56%. And again, this one is not in your package. So again, it was to give an overview. We do get a lot of questions from people about what the taxes are, where the taxes is going, and we thought this would be very helpful. And on our agenda later today, we have the L4029 for the township, which will be asked for approval. So we thought this was a good timing to explain a little bit about the taxes in the L4029 and where we get our data. Yes.
You did say this will be available online for constituents to enjoy?
Yes.
This was a good presentation. Thank you and thank Dawn.
Yes.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Otto, she has a question.
Lenore?
Yes.
I just have one concern.
Sure.
On the the state ed tax
Mm-hmm.
and the Whitmore and the Northfield Township levy,
Which page?
on all of them.
On all of them?
It's consistent across the board on every one of them. Wouldn't it have been better if you took, so like for Whitmore Lake School, what is the percentage of Northfield Township taxes within of Whitmore Lake School? What is the percentage of Northfield taxes in South Lyon School District? What is the percentage? Because what you're showing here is the same millage across the board.
Correct.
On every one of them.
Except for the school.
Except for the school, but that's not correct. Because in that school district, only a percentage pays for that .79 millage.
So what we did,
So
and
in
we can talk
Dexter,
about,
only a percentage pays
we can talk
the
about this
.79.
offline. So what we did is we tied to each tax bill. So those numbers that you see, if you get a tax bill for South Lyon, that's what it ties to in total. Now, if the percentages, if you want us to maybe look at the percentages slightly different, we can look at that. But the numbers, the 40, is it 42?
Well, for Whitmore Lake, it was
40.
40.89.
So that total ties to your tax bills that you receive if you're in the Whitmore
Okay.
Lake School District, from including the summer and the winter. That is your tax bill. That
Okay.
will tie to that if you are a property owner and have claimed an exemption. The percentages is saying out of that Whitmore Lake School District, your total taxes that you are paying, 2% goes to the township. And I think it was, is it 15% or 18% is a millage for the fire, the police, and the building. So out of your taxes, out of that 40.8965, that's how much of your taxes are going to those entities.
Okay.
That's
So
the,
it's not a percentage of what's in that area,
it's
what's
a,
in that Whitmore Lake area.
it's a percentage of
Of the
that
millage.
tax bill.
Okay.
Of that, yeah, that tax
right.
bill. So if there's, I mean, let's talk after if there's something we can do in addition or
No, that makes
slightly.
more sense than
Or
having it as a
maybe
percentage of.
we need to explain that better in our
You
presentation.
probably do.
Okay.
Yep, we can do that.
Ms. Chick, go ahead.
On that line, I think, would it be possible, you did wonderful work on this, there's a lot of information, it's very detailed, but I don't know that we're going to have a lot of residents that are going to read through the whole thing and understand it. No offense to any residents, but it's a lot to take in at one time.
Yes.
Is it possible to do something in a really simple form, just a single graph, say, for every $100 that you pay in taxes to Northfield Township, this amount goes to this amount goes to that amount goes to that, so they can see exactly what percentage of, not percentage, but what part of that dollar or
Sure.
$100 goes. I think that's, as an overview, it's really simple for them to look at.
The tax bill says that.
Right.
Your
But
tax
it's
bill
the
is
No,
broken
I'm
down.
talking about everything that's on
So,
our pie
what,
chart.
you know, I can talk to both of you afterwards and see what we can do on that and, you know, to make,
Yeah.
to incorporate those.
The previous one that was done was like in a whole chart that showed everything all on one dashboard. You didn't have to flip to different school districts to see what was going on. It was on one one dashboard,
Okay.
instead of looking at 4 dashboards.
I mean, we can combine some of the numbers. What I really wanted to show is, as well as some of the indefinite versus millages. So we can make it simpler like we did on the chart and combine some so we can get it all on one dashboard. Because
Sure.
what you
Oh,
have to
no,
take into account is you need to look at the different school districts because you are paying different taxes depend on the different school district. In addition, if you're in South Lyon, you're paying the Oakland County ISD and the Oakland County Community
I think
College.
people who are in Oakland County are aware of that, because we pay more.
Actually, we pay less.
No, we paid less.
We pay 35.
Yeah.
Because of that, because it's like 2 basis points difference between Washtenaw County ISD and Washtenaw County Community College.
Yeah.
The pie chart does it well. If you imagine you had $100 in taxes, well, 26 would go to this, and $2 would go to that, and $4 would go to. So the pie chart's pretty much maybe more of a visual, like you're referring to. If you
There's
just
4 different ones. There's 4 different
Yes.
ones. Yeah. Can't we do it all
Right.
in one?
That's what I mean.
all in one. We had it all in one. Do you still have
Well, we
that?
can look at it.
Yeah, I'm sure we can look at other ways to display this
Yep.
information, but the big job of it, Lenore and Dawn did.
Really,
did a great
I will
Yeah.
give that to Dawn. She had really put it together because she was, she's obviously in the office 5 days a week. Gets questions about, well, what's this tax for? What's that tax for? How come this? And I'm there to help deflect some of it, but she's there to deflect most of it. And so she put it together. So, and then I just tried to make sure all the numbers tied and that we were all tied across schedules.
I think this would be a great tool. We can
Thank
direct
you.
people to it when they have tax questions.
Thank you.
And
And I will meet with both of you to see if we can summarize it in another form as well. Thank you.
Okay. I just want to mention that our businesses are paying an extra 18 mills.
That's correct.
And so that's a huge burden for them. It's an advantage for our schools because that extra 18 mills is going to the schools, but we have a lot of businesses complaining they're going out of business because they have to pay too much taxes, and almost all of it, is really heading off to for schools. So all of the extras. So it is challenging.
Do we have a figure, has anybody actually investigated for a township our size and what our taxes are, where we fall in ranking?
All of that data, I'm sure, is available in the counties. In the there's apportionment
I'm not talking-
reports.
yeah.
We can get that information.
yeah.
Like where we rank as a county, it's on.
No,
Or is
no,
it township?
the township, compared to
Yeah,
other
in the county.
townships, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's online. I have it on.
I think I was kind of focusing on our township and with the L4029 of us coming up to give people a feel for that. But I think that might be another thing we can add to the package, compile, and just even if it's just pulling off of the Washtenaw County web, and then potentially gets a little, I don't know about South Lyon, but pulling that off and then adding that, but that'll be soon, but not as soon as putting this.
Okay.
But we will work
Good
on
job,
that. It's a good
Lenore.
comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job, yeah. Okay, Ms. Bellinger.
On your same report, the financial treasurer's report overviews, I'm looking at this page here that has the general fund.
Okay.
I just would like to know, is it possible, I like the percentages used. Is it possible, I recall in the recent past, we had also included the percentage into the fiscal year that we are. In other words, if we're like 30% into the fiscal year, 45% of the fiscal year. So it kind of gives a reference as to like, if we're 50% of the fiscal year and we've spent only 40% in an expected budget, or maybe 6% in a different budget. I recall seeing that from the previous controller's documents.
Okay, if you can give us that, then we can look at it. I thought these were what we were doing prior, so.
You're on this page.
I'm on this
So-
one here, just generally this one. I do want to add that I like page 9 on here, even though the text is small, I do like that summary page.
Yep. Okay.
But I recall.
So if you can give us that document, that would
Okay.
be good, because I'm not recalling it, so, but if you can show it to us, I'm sure we can incorporate it.
Okay, thank you so much, Lenore, thank you.
Mr.
Is there a page on that? page number on that?
It was just a general comment about.
This is it, but, oh, it's way up there. Okay.
So we do, I haven't been asking people to put pages numbers. Now sometimes you may have to search for them based on the schedules, because it's not always conducive to put it on the bottom right or the bottom middle based on what's showing. So we have been working on making sure pages are numbered. Yes.
Okay. Mr. Dockett.
Yes, I want to ask about the fund balance I'm looking at here.
Okay.
I just like this, it says, I think it's 52%.
Correct.
Is that correct? 10 years ago, when the board took over from when the board I was on took over from Northfield Neighbors, the Northfield Neighbors said that the township would be bankrupt in 6 months. But at the end of the 2012, which is when our 4 years were up, the board had $1.2 million in the fund balance. And now I'm looking at this, and it says we have 52%. But I don't know what the difference, I would like to know how much money we're talking about that's in the, how many dollars are in the fund balance. In other words, we're supposed to have 85%. So I was wondering where that might be in here, or is it in here, about how much money we have in the fund balance.
So if, for the current activity, on page 101 in the fund balance report for the general fund, the ending fund balance for 2016, which is your third column, it's $985,154.
Nearly $1 million.
Yep, if you round it, very close to $1 million.
All right.
Okay. Any more questions of our treasurer? No. Okay. Thank you very much. This is great information.
But we're still talking about 52% fund balance.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, it's not 85.
That's correct.
So it's 33% less than it was 11 months ago when we started out.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dockett. Anyone else? Okay, moving on to the supervisor's report. We'll just skip this unless anyone has a question. Okay, thank you. All right, next, does anyone have any questions of Mr. Ains? He has included his report here. Go ahead, Mr. Ains. Any questions for him?
I don't have a question, but I do have a comment based on the agenda item about the one tree needs to be removed from the motorized path, non-motorized path. Again, maybe that's something that, depending on the requirements for the potential grant, maybe that's something that could be used to fund that, as a thought. Just, that was all. I just might put that on our list of picking.
Ms. Otto?
So because this is probably the first time that I've read that we had a tree that had to be removed, where is that tree located?
It's in Pat Johnson's front yard. It was a pine tree that don't lend themselves well to having half of it cut off.
So is it in the easement, or is it on her?
It's not in the easement, but it should have been marked. And this would really, I would consider to be a change order issue. And I can let Mr. Ains speak to this because he helped with the bids, getting the bids to cut it down. It's cheap.
We did ask our contractor did the project for a price, and it was way higher than what he charged for any other tree in the project. So we went to our landscaper, and he gave us a very reasonable amount. I'm thinking it was around $300.
Oh.
And so on that basis, we were intending to proceed.
Get that
Yes.
cut down. Yeah.
I'm curious, is this one of the people that were given a good amount of money from the township? No?
It wasn't one of the two that were holding out. This was one of the ones that signed on a long time ago.
It was $10,000.
It was $10,000, yes.
Yeah.
So they've received,
That's a pretty good.
that's a pretty good amount of money.
Yep, it is. Any other comments? Okay.
So are we saying that in the original, when they originally marked the trees, this one wasn't marked and it should have been marked?
It wasn't marked, and I would have marked it. I mean, it wasn't marked when the whole plan was put together, and probably because you couldn't see it very well from the road, but it should have been marked at that point, and it was not.
Okay.
Yeah. But things like this happen, you know.
Well, is this something where perhaps somebody involved in the construction or the layout of this is responsible? Why does it always have to come back to the general fund, is the question. There's contracts have been made and people have been negotiating, you know, businesses and so forth. We have a planner, or we have an engineering firm, we have people doing the work and signing contracts. Aren't these things, is there any kind of warranty, any kind of recourse?
It just looks ugly, and to make our resident more satisfied with the fact that now they have this path in front of their yard, it's $300.
I can see a lot of people would be happy with township helping them with some tree removal and some other beautifications to their property. There has to be, line has to be drawn somewhere. I don't know if this is the place to draw it or not. I don't know enough about the situation, but these are things that need to be considered.
Okay. Ms. Chick?
Is the tree dying?
No,
It's not a safety concern?
but it looks bad. I
Okay.
mean, go ahead and drive down there and take a look at it.
Okay.
That's what happens with pine trees. You can't cut half of them off and have it look decent.
Did we pay to have her other trees taken out?
No,
She did. She did it with her $10,000 or what?
she didn't have other trees taken. They were,
Okay.
when they do the path, they just mowed down all sorts of stuff. Mr. Haynes, go ahead if you have something to say about it.
Well, just on the tree, as you know, evergreens tend to have the branches where they are coming down at an angle. And what this has done is exposed the entire base of the tree because all those branches are out of there. So that's one of the issues. The other is when you put in a sidewalk, often you cut the root system. And I suspect that's what's going to happen because this is right up against the walkway.
Well, we spent $400,000, so I guess $200 more is not.
Okay.
In 7.5 years doing it, so $200 is not going to break the bank, I guess.
Right. Anyone else? Ms. Chick?
Not on the tree? Can I
Pardon?
move to something else besides
You want to move on to the
Okay.
tree?
Right.
On from the tree?
Yeah, okay. I appreciate the report. Thank you, Mr. Ains. And I'm actually looking at supervisory report, and there's a couple of things on here as well. The ordinance and process improvement is, Mr. Ains, that is something you're working with them as well?
Yes.
It should be a function of the manager. Okay. That was all I had, so I just wanted to make sure. All right, thank you.
Right. I would mention with that, anytime a citizen has a question that goes beyond the basic information, the staff knows to go ahead and pass it along to me. So as long as I'm in the office, I have an open door policy. If I'm not in a meeting, I'll talk to whoever needs to discuss items with. And that's happened several times in the 6 weeks I've been here.
So in the minutes where it says the final bill for the path is $70,725, it's not really the final bill if we're going to take down a tree. Maybe we should correct that.
Okay. Is everyone good? We can move on?
Oh, can I just make one more comment?
Yes,
Unrelated,
please.
sorry.
Go
I just want
ahead.
Mr. Ains should feel comfortable speaking to any issue. He doesn't have to be wait to ask, or it doesn't have to wait to be asked.
I agree
I
with
agree.
that.
Okay, all right.
I agree with that.
Thank you, but I'd
Yep.
prefer to let you all talk first. Otherwise, we might be here all night.
That's right. Yes, and I asked Mr. Ains to raise his hand anytime he wanted to jump in on anything, so. No, I have to admit, it's been wonderful having him in the office, and he's there when I call, and, and he does meet with citizens that come in, and he has jumped right into this job, so I'm really, really happy about that. Okay, moving on. McKenna. Okay, we have Paul Lippens here tonight to talk about the North Village developer solicitation process and the update to the Northfield Township Master Plan. So, take it away.
All right. Good evening, trustees.
Good evening.
It's my pleasure to be here this evening. Yes, there's two items on the agenda that I'd like to discuss with you. The developer solicitation process for North Village and also the proposal to update the Northfield Township Master Plan. I'm going to take these one at a time and discuss them between. So the first item is the North Village developer solicitation process. I did, at the beginning of the meeting tonight, pass around the exhibit just to remind everybody. In February, we did a joint meeting with the Township Board and Planning Commission, and we discussed the synthesis plan for the North Village site, the otherwise called the Northfield Community Park site. At that time, we discussed the details of this proposal and the idea that the next step would be to request a developer to put forth a proposal to see if we could get interest from the private development community about developing both some private features of the park, including new businesses, parking areas, as well as some potential townhomes and loft-style residential buildings as part of to accentuate the public features on the park, which would include a town green that overlooked the lake and a central lawn area for passive recreation and activities, which would include a community garden, a pavilion, and many of the features, for instance, a lawn to view the movies that people like to see in town, and it does include a band shell or pavilion area for that type of activity as well. Between the time we did that presentation and now, we've also worked with the DDA to create a plan for downtown, and that plan is nearing completion. We presented a draft plan to the DDA and DPG at the late August DDA meeting, and we were receiving comments on that plan. And at this time, we would like to discuss with the board moving forward with the developer solicitation process. Our hope would be to come back in October to the Board of Trustees at a joint meeting with the Planning Commission to present both refresher on the synthesis plan for North Village, the downtown plan that the DDA has prepared for downtown, and a draft RFP for the board to review to move forward with this exciting process for downtown and for Whitmore Lake. We did review this proposal and for a scope of work to develop the solicitation with Planning Commission at their August 16th meeting. Planning Commission recommended that the board consider this and approve work for us to start on this process, and it is appearing on your agenda tonight.
Better if you say Northfield Township rather than Whitmore Lake.
Northfield Township, yes, sir. I appreciate that. You have in your packet a summary of the scope of work to prepare a solicitation. The first step is preparing the solicitation, and then after that it would be releasing and assisting the township manager with managing that process reviewing any application materials we received, and then presenting those materials to the board for review. I think it's an exciting process. I think the idea of testing the market to see if the types of things the township would like to see on the site, if you can have a private partner to help you with that process, to help you get the public amenities designed, to help share the expenses of building those materials and providing those amenities, and to potentially have a positive impact on your tax revenues. These are things that we can, actively test through a solicitation process, and our hope would be that we might get several proposals to look at with the board and for you to evaluate. And I'm here for questions.
Okay. Mr. Dockett.
Why do you say you're going to talk with the supervisor? Why not the board?
We are absolutely going to talk with the board. So the idea...
Okay. All right, that's what you said. So, okay, I want to read a little something here. In the bills tonight, the township is paying McKenna $15,192 for downtown planning. In this presentation that we're talking about right now, McKenna wants $26,500 plus more than that, planning. So that is $41,692 for a project, and I think will never happen. I will be voting no on this. The township has a policy that we voted into law, and it says that we're supposed to have our 85, we're supposed to have fund balance in 85%. We're down to 52%, and that's 33% lower than it was 11 months ago. So that is why I'm voting no. Thank you.
Okay. Would you like to respond to that, Mr.
Oh,
Lipkins?
I would just say that the fund proposal that you're speaking to for the $25,000 is the scope for the master plan, which I haven't presented yet.
Well, you got $4,500 in there for a non-motorized path that we haven't even paid for yet.
Don't worry about it.
This is for the second part of the presentation. Right now he's on A and you're talking about B.
Yes.
Ms. Belcher.
I don't see any mention of the cost for this, what do you call this, developer solicitation process. I don't see any money in here, any costs or any ideas of what this will cost. I also do not see it as on the agenda as a voting item, and I would not want that to be a voted item on for tonight. This may be something that perhaps after our retreat that we might consider. But back to cost, I don't see anything on your, on number A here, developer solicitation process, referring to what is our expected cost for this. Is
Yeah.
it a blank check thing? What is?
It's no. We're proposing that this scope of work is completed under your budget item to provide planning services. So the board has already prepared a budget for your annual planning services. And this scope, that's why it's presented as a scope of work. We want to involve the board in the decision-making process and in the approval of our work. But the budgeting of it has already been done. But we'll provide an estimate. So when I was thinking about how much this would take, I thought that maybe this would take, about 5 to 10 hours a month, and preparing the actual proposal or release of the RFP. I think that's really something we can do in the course of the next, month and a half for the October meeting. So, I think we're talking about 10 to 20 hours of work. It's a concerted effort. But then after that, I think it will also continue to take about 5 to 10 hours a month to manage and work with you on
So
it.
what approximate budget, anybody have an idea what that is, 5 to 10 hours a month
We have a
approximate?
$40,000 planning budget that has already been approved by this board.
And that's not to be exceeded until 6/30 is when, of 2017 is when this is, 2018 is when this is the budget at the end of the year.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
It's for the-
40,000?
It's for the entire year. However, occasionally we have line items go under, occasionally we have line items go slightly over, and we do make adjustments as necessary. My expectation, though, is this was estimated at an appropriate level to take care of that. So, Ms. Chick.
Mr. Lippens, could you explain to the people listening exactly what an RFP is?
Yes, an RFP is a request for proposals. So, the township has, purchased the 23-acre site, done due diligence and planning, reaching out to residents, doing concerted visioning around what types of uses, appropriate uses would be accepted, the amount of space on that site and public uses that the township would like to see, and what we would do through a request for proposals is we would release that plan along with some background information, including the township zoning regulations, the new draft plan that we've prepared for downtown for the DDA, and the township's master plan, as well as some supplementary guidance in a document for release. And we would put that out, and we would ask developers to respond. They might say, I think we would be interested in developing, just this portion of the property, and here's a financial proposal for what we think to do that. Some people might say we think we can do everything. They might spell out what portion of the public amenities they felt that level of private development could pay for, and we would look possibly to grant funding to help fund the rest of those. But really the first step in understanding that private financing component is to test the market and see, well, not the first step, it's actually, we've done a lot of the first steps, is to show them what we want and then ask people to respond. And, I think that probably, in this scope of work, I've outlined, a couple different ways this could happen. One with a request for information followed by qualifications from a developer and then going into a proposal process. Two might be starting with just qualifications and then going on to a proposal. One might be just asking for qualifications for potential developers. I think that I would recommend that I think it would be most beneficial to the board and to Planning Commission to actually do a full RFP, just go straight to a request for proposal. I know that this would involve some more thinking from the private sector, but I think it would be more beneficial to you to see those ideas. Alternatively, if it was the preference of the board and you would like to evaluate the qualifications of firms and just put this information out and ask for interested firms to submit similar projects they've done, that would kind of be the other way to go. And I would take that direction from you or discussion if you think that is your preference.
Okay, so you will be presenting this in that RFP as the vision of the community for this property and see what they would like to possibly consider. It might not exactly end up looking like this, but it has to follow the guidelines of this vision, correct?
Yeah, well, that would be your decision. So they could present an alternate vision. I mean, when we open it up to the private sector, you might get an alternate vision, and but now you can evaluate that against what came out of the public process.
Okay.
And this was a community effort.
It is. If you recall, we had a variety of public input, but my favorite, and I was happy through this process and the downtown plan to work with many of the people in this room, and I definitely thank everyone for participating. It's my pleasure to get to know everyone and to get to work with you. But one of my favorite things we did was the workshop we did in this room where we actually creatively thought of ideas with residents and the board members and planning commissioners that came to that meeting, and tried to articulate what types of uses we'd like to see. And that process, through kind of iteratively examining the property, led to the development of this synthesis plan, which is really a plan that incorporates a lot of the ideas that we heard without really impacting the overall desire to have quality public uses on this site.
Okay. So my understanding is if we approve you to move forward with preparing an RFP, you'll be bringing that back to us at the end of October, and we'll get to see what that looks like before it's then released? Is that how it works? Okay. And at that time in October, we'll also see the downtown plan as its final form, so that this body can approve that also, correct?
That is the plan.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, I'm willing to entertain a motion to get a move on here. Does anyone like to offer that?
Yep, I'll make the motion. I make the motion to, for the board to, I'm trying to think. Direct McKenna to draft the RFP for review and approval for, to solicit for developers in North Village redevelopment.
Okay.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Otto and a support by Chick. Any more discussion on this item? Okay.
If I may, just...
yes, please.
So this will give us information to see if some of the thoughts that have been gathered by the public is obtainable, meaning from a developer perspective. Now, if we come back and we don't like what they have to say, I mean, we'll still get more input from our public to say, yes, this is the route we want to go. Is that correct? There'll be some another workshop. Did I read that right, or is that the other proposal?
Yeah, and that really goes to the process that's outlined in that scope of work, which
Okay.
is the evaluation of the proposals that you receive, and then working through that developing process. And it is a long process, but absolutely part of that is your review of the proposals that are received and determination if you want to accept any of them or none of them.
Right. Because, I mean, I think it's good, the more information we have on the site, to see if people think it's a valid area to put some retail and development is good. I also think we have to maintain that some of the people have already said they just want it to have it as a part, some of the surveys. So I think it's good information to have to proceed forward so we can have more information to make a better decision. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion by, more discussion. Ms.
I have a kind of maybe it's an ignorant question. Who will own the property? Is it always going to be the township? Is this something where somebody might come in and decide to buy a lot of it or half of it or all of it? I mean, I guess maybe this is a dumb question, but it just came to my mind, so I thought.
No, if I may answer the question, it's a great question, and that's part of what doing an RFP will help you figure out, right? Because a part of that proposal, we can ask a developer to say what part of the property do you want to own, and we can look at that, whether or not the township will hold and maintain all of the public uses, or if through a PUD process there might be access agreements so that the public uses will be public but held and maintained by the development. And those are all things that we consider by evaluating proposals.
Okay.
Just have one more. So how will you handle the sewer capacity constraint in this proposal?
Well, we are hoping to, I will answer that. We are going to be receiving a presentation October 10th for a rate study to receive the SAW grant and to do the rate study and the asset management plan. for our equalization basin and our transmission lines. So it's a component of this entire package, and it's a decision that this board needs to make on how it wants to move forward with that particular portion. But that doesn't have a lot to do necessarily, except that we could use to have some sewer capacity there for whatever might develop. Does that make sense?
I'm a little confused. So do we have, when we send out the RFP, do we have the capacity to handle it, or we won't know what we need until after we get the RFP back?
Right.
The second one, the latter? Okay, thank you.
I still would like to maybe put a little thought into this, and I think it maybe during our retreat we ought to discuss this more. And I would also like to take a moment that within this discussion, Mr. Ains, with his experience, may actually have some information to chime in on this as well.
Well, as has been pointed out, what you're doing is trying to get proposals from private entities. You may get none. You may get a half a dozen. They may have, very similar characteristics, or they may be very divergent ideas that they are presenting to you. And some may want to own the whole property, and some may want to not own any of it, but lease from you for long term. So you're really gathering information, and you're not making any commitment to the developers at this point.
I'll take anybody over here for a change.
So basically what this is we're gaining information. Right now, we don't know what we don't know. And the more information that we gain from it, and that's what the RFP process is to gain that additional information. So it'll give us more, it might open some doors that we haven't even thought of. It may surprise us that if somebody does want to own the whole property. I mean, there's a lot of different venues from this that we haven't even thought. All we have thought of is we want to develop this property. The how hasn't even been discussed, and we haven't even thought of how it's going to happen. So I think that's what the whole process does, is bring out that how. And there will be more questions from it.
Ms. Manley.
Just a general time frame. So once we get the RFP out there, how long do we leave that out there and open?
I think for 1 month to 2 months, probably 6 weeks might be that sweet spot.
So if we approve this in October, when will you get it out?
Hopefully within 2 weeks. The idea is that we'll have a draft at the October meeting to present, again, with refresher on the synthesis plan, because we haven't looked at that a little bit, and then it will be also Planning Commission and the board's first look at the downtown plan and how these two new products work with each other. And we want to have with that a framework for the request for proposals to get feedback on. And it really is just procedural from that point.
Mr. Dockett.
Yeah, this is on for a presentation. How come we can get this on the agenda? It's not on the agenda to vote on it. It's on as a presentation, so it's not even on the agenda. So I want to know how that's going to happen.
Ms. Bellinger.
I would like to know, is it possible to still do this request for proposal? What is the most cost-effective way to do it? The cheapest way, the least amount of taxpayer money we can use to go forward with this? Is there other, now that we have some information and a good outline and a form, is there any other options of how to do this, to go forward with this, that may be more cost-effective for our general fund? Trimming it down, maybe finding it, I'm I'm just looking for the least expensive way to try to share. Is there a more efficient way, effective way maybe? Do you have any ideas?
Well, at this point, your budget provides for him to do this work under your current balance. You have all this work that's been done already with the public meetings and different things. So somebody else coming in at this point to look at it, I think, would be a much more expensive process than proceeding at this point. It's something that could be done internal, but it would take a huge amount of time, and staff doesn't have the time given everything else that's on demand. So I think right now this is the most cost effective. But again, once it's presented back to you, you don't have to go with it. I mean, he's going to give you a plan, but if you decide the plan isn't what you want to do, you can tell him to do something different, or you can stop the process.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Ms. Otto?
I would, we are looking to an expert. And if we take this on ourselves, none of us are experts in this. So I would, since we already have this in our budget and everything, we need to be doing something to get the information that we need, or it's never going to move forward.
Right. So we have a motion on the table.
This is not on the agenda as a voting.
We can still add it to the agenda for a voting item, just as we did People's Express, and we did it for...
I don't think we can.
Yes, we can.
Without a vote.
Yeah.
You're gonna
And
have
it's
to,
already a
you're gonna have to get 4 votes to put it on there.
Yep, we
Could,
have,
could we put it on the next agenda? I mean, would that be good?
There's already a motion.
okay.
I don't care, it's not on the agenda.
It's certainly proper. Let's have a roll call vote then to direct McKenna to begin to prepare an RFP for the North Village site.
I'd like to ask our attorney if that's legal.
Yeah, as long as it's on the agenda as an item, the idea of a distinction between presentation items and agenda item, it's just sort of a matter of nomenclature. If it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda.
I disagree.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Chockley,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Chick,
Yes.
Zelenock,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Docket,
No.
Okay, thank you very much. That passes. I look forward to seeing what you come up with October 24th. Now you have another presentation for us?
Yeah, the next item is the Township Master Plan. As you know, many of you probably know, the Township Master Plan is the guiding policy document for the township's development procedures. Planning Commission earlier this year discussed a work plan for the planning function in the township and recommended that the board and the township look at updating the master plan. One of the advantages to updating the master plan is that you can officially adopt both the North Village plan and the DDA plan into that document, but it also provides you with the opportunity to look at some of the township-wide issues, including the interchanges and the overlay districts, as well as preservation and sustainability issues across the township. Recognizing, I know there's been a lot of discussion tonight about maintaining the fund balance. So this is an example of the type of thing that would be a line item to consider. We would, at this point, we have taken the budget and recommended doing it over 2 budget cycles. So the idea would be, if the board were to consider an update to the master plan, that you would wait, possibly into February or March. We would initiate the process then, and then continue into your next budget cycle, so that all of the expense wouldn't appear in one budget year. So, tonight I'm here to present the scope. It was recommended by the Planning Commission that the board look at this scope, and it was not included in your budget. And if you were to consider it, it's something that you could discuss at your retreat and talk about appropriate timing for this, whether it's something that you would want to proceed with next year and essentially split the budget over 2 years to be conscientious of your expenditures, or if you decide it's not prudent to consider it at this time. I will say that the advantage of looking at the master plan as a visioning document is that it then leads to the ability to provide thoughtful updates to your zoning ordinance and procedures. So as we look at wanting to be business friendly and create transparent procedures for people as they come and want to do business in the township. The master plan is really the first step for us to look at that and then to work on making those zoning ordinance changes. It's all a part of how the township does business, and I think it really is an important document. I think the Planning Commission was thoughtfully considered the work program and thought that this was an important thing to proceed with, and did make the recommendation to the board that we look at the master plan. So I'm here tonight to share with you the document and answer questions about this, and I certainly can come back at a future date to discuss it as well.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Lippens about the master plan?
So,
Yes.
I do, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. When this initially came up at the Planning Commission, I know there was a lot of questions about, simply because of the cost. We understand that there's a need to take a look at it and review it. Doesn't need an overhaul. We're just talking about reviewing it, maybe tweaking some things. There were also some items that were brought to the Planning Commission at the time from Mr. Sloan, and that the Planning Commission asked if there were things that the Planning Commission could do to kind of cut back on the costs and do that work as part of our Planning Commission meetings, as opposed to it being a part of the McKenna Master Plan review. And is this already pared back from what the initial presentation was?
Yeah, I mean, the fee associated with this project assumes that we will be working closely with Planning Commission at regular meetings. When we are asked to come to board meetings, it can be an item that we discuss with the board. I think, part of having a work program is that we're engaged and we can achieve cost savings by working on these items. But, you're talking about, a fairly sizable policy document and a lot of revisions that have to be made to it.
So this is the first we've heard about actually splitting the cost between 2 budget years, which thank you for doing that. That makes it a little more palatable. I appreciate that. But is there anything in this document that we could do as a Planning Commission without making it part of the master plan review? Of what, as it's been presented, I should.
Yeah, I'd be happy to think about it and
Okay.
discuss it with Planning Commission again at an
Okay.
upcoming meeting.
Okay. It's important, and I think we do need to take a look. And again, I appreciate the fact that you want to split it over 2 budget years, but I don't know if anybody's ready to vote on it or to talk about it.
Right. Ms. Zelenock.
So I do agree. I like the ideal of splitting over 2 budget years. When do you need to know for your firm to start gearing up? Is it January we say, yep, we're good with it? Or is it February? Do you need a couple months for lead time? Or if we say go, you go?
I mean, I think we would work with you. When the decision is made, we'd be ready to start.
Okay. And so, okay. All right, good enough.
Ms. Bellinger.
Yeah, I did have listed on here, whom in the township can do some of this or this master plan upgrade and so forth, updating. That was actually what I had as one of my questions, because it's quite possible some of us, we have some talent that maybe could do a lot of this. I don't know to what degree or how much, but this was something that certainly we could discuss at the retreat. Thanks.
Yeah, we can discuss this at the retreat, and I think it's a good time to do that. When I was first putting the budget together and I realized we were going to have an enormous deficit in the budget, this was one of the items that I had pulled out, and I had discussed with Mr. Lippens if there was any other fee structure, you know, and he offered the splitting over the two fiscal years, which was, you know, really good. But the master plan process takes a long time, quite a while to gather the public input, and you know, by the time you advertise, you run all these public hearings, you put all the data together. It took us 2 years to do the last one. Now, I don't anticipate this one will take that long. It doesn't seem like it's that it's going to need that serious of a, you know, work toward it. But when I did see on the back page, I guess I'm just sort of speaking from experience, having been the chair of the Planning Commission at the time that we did the other one. The fees that are set forth here for this are not out of line from what it was last time. And in fact, this is a little pared down, so it is a little less, I believe, than what we had actually spent last time on it. And so I appreciate all the good work that's going to go into this one. If and when we, you know, when, I hope, we get going on it. But I do know that we can be more business friendly with some of the zoning classifications that are allowed or, you know, called out in the master plan. And there's some areas, because I've had a lot of discussions with property owners in the area where we could do better. You know, along the Main Street corridor, there's some areas that could be done that would be advantageous for the township, and a few in the Whitmore Lake area where they're, you know, they don't seem to fit in the North Territorial Whitmore Lake mixed-use area. So there's a few things that I would like to see, but again, this is a planning commission-driven project, and then we get it in the end. So anyway, I'm glad Ms. Chick is on there. So. Anyway, I'm done talking, but I'm sure we will talk about this at our board retreat and see what we can afford to do, you know. So, any other comments for Mr. Lippens tonight from anyone? No? Okay.
Well, thank you. I look forward
Thank you.
to seeing everyone in October.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Okay, next item we have is the wastewater treatment plant request to replace aeration piping. And we have Dan here. Let's start with a motion, and then we can discuss. Ms. Bellinger, did you want to make a motion?
Well, I wanted to ask a couple questions about, he had four,
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
yeah, I went ahead and get four proposals, whatnot. I was curious, the company you picked was one of the lower cost ones. I'm curious if they have, what kind of warranty, their track record, and is there variations in material quality or gauge? My thought is sometimes the lower cost is not always the best choice, but I was just curious as to, hopefully it was not just the price that you were thinking of. So I had warranty, a track record for the company, and variations in the material quality. Gauging of that.
The quality, they've worked on stuff around town, and they're actually working down on North Territorial at that new building by Jomar Drive. They're working on that. The material is the same material that the other contractors had bid.
Same source?
Same, I don't know if same source, same gauge, stainless steel. We've not had them do work for us before, but we do know the people involved in it. So. It's probably got a warranty like anything else, a year warranty on parts and labor, but it's something we need to do pretty quick now. We spent the last week getting a tank emptied so they could start on it as soon as possible too. The price. Yeah, and I think any of the contractors that we got bids from could do the job.
Can I just, if we may, I'll make a motion that we accept the bid of $20,500 from Professional Thermal Systems to replace the air piping in the aeration, or help me out with that, aeration tanks, or how you say that?
Aeration.
Aeration, thank you. Sorry about that. Tanks. Do we need any legal review of the contract or anything? With legal review of the contract.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Ms. Zelenock to go with the $20,500 bid from Professional Thermal Systems to replace the air piping in our aeration tanks pending attorney approval. Okay. So a motion by Zelenock and support by Bellinger. Okay, Ms. Chick, your turn.
I kind of had the same question that Trustee Bellinger had, Mr. Willis. There was such a wide range of pricing on this. What would cause the difference? And my other question is, do we have any kind of, done any research or investigating into this company to find out if they have good reviews, bad reviews, Better Business Bureau, the type of service that they provide after the work is done, so that, because it's really low compared to the rest.
Yeah, this is about the price I thought it would be. It would be in the mid-20s. I was surprised at the other prices. It's a simple job. We have 8 pieces of pipe that are going to have to be welded together and hooked on both ends, and that's all it is.
Okay,
So
I trust your judgment.
I think the variation in prices is maybe on how different companies approach how they're going to do the job. Maybe some of them thought they were going to need more equipment. You know, with mechanical contractors, we typically get a wide variety of prices for some reason.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dockett?
One thing might be, because if they're already here out on North Territorial, that might be helpful. But if we got the money,
The one guy that owns the company, his kids go to the Christian school right in town.
do we
I don't know,
have?
maybe if that affected it or not.
Have you got a lot of money? You got the 20,000?
Yes, we had it in the budget.
Thank you.
Should that be part of the budget, that the money comes from the wastewater treatment plant?
It is under the capital outlay, I believe.
Yes, it is.
We budgeted for this. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Dockett.
Yes.
Chick.
Yes.
Chockley.
Yes.
Bellinger. Yes. Otto.
Yes.
Manley, yes. Zelenock.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you. Okay. We can let Mr. Willis go now. Thank you for coming in. Sorry it's so late. Okay, the next item is the request to sell the AED to the library.
I'll make the motion to approve the sale of the one AED to the library for $200.
I support.
Okay, we have a motion by Otto and support by Bellinger. Do we have any discussion? Mr. Dockett?
Bill, how many, I just want to know, how many of these are we going to get? What is there, several things on this one page, or? I want to know how many we're getting.
3 AEDs.
You're getting 3 new ones.
Right, and then additionally, we're getting I'm not going to say this right, but it's an automatic CPR device, basically.
Yeah, well, there was no number in here, and I just wondered how many we were going to get.
3 AEDs and the automatic CPR device, and then some trainers.
Do you have any idea how much these cost?
The total cost is like $27,000, but it only cost Northfield Township $2,700. You'll see in the bills there was an
Well,
invoice.
there's nothing on here that says anything. On the bill, is there?
No, but the whole purpose of the agenda item was to sell this AED to the library.
I
instead of-
understand, but I had questions about how many we had.
Sure.
Do you know what we paid for the one that you're selling for 200?
I would guess we paid $4,000 to $5,000.
For the one we're selling for 200?
Right. It's becoming obsolete. It may not even be
Well,
serviceable.
I know you always have stuff coming obsolete, but 4,000 or 5,000 was getting 200 for it. And how about the grant? What did we have to pay for the grant for the, is that all?
$2,700.
That's it?
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Bellinger?
I'm curious, it says the AED are near the end of their life and will not be serviceable. I'm just curious, what is the end of their life? Is it like a battery problem?
No, it's the Physio Control, I believe, is the name of the company that services these, and they say they will not service them anymore after, I think it's sometime within the next year.
It's not that it's no longer functional, it's just they
No,
won't service
that's why
it?
we will keep it and use it as long as,
As long as they'll work on them.
Huh.
unless.
As long as they'll fix them.
Well, right, and they won't fix them anymore.
That's, okay, it just was an odd I mean, I wonder why they won't fix them. Maybe you don't know.
Because they
but-
want you to buy new ones.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are we good now? Okay. Roll call vote on this?
Manley, yes. Otto?
Yes.
Zelenock?
Yes.
Docket?
Yes.
Bellinger?
Yes.
Chick?
Yes.
Chockley?
Yes. Okay, that passes. Thank you.
I'll go ahead and I'll make a motion.
Good.
I can make a motion. I can try anyway. Help me out here. Make a motion to approve the sale of the list of equipment here at the municipal auction at Chelsea Fairgrounds on September 23rd, 2017.
I will support.
Okay, we have a motion by Bellinger and support by Chick to sell all of this equipment. Do we have any more discussion on Mr. Docket?
What are you going to do with the money?
Depending on which item it is, it'll go into the appropriate budget. So, for instance, the 2013 Ford Explorer was purchased with federal drug forfeiture money. So that the proceed.
That's a 13, you said?
Yeah, I believe the 13. I have to check on the 12 to see how we purchased that.
And the other two forfeitures on the top, they're forfeitures also?
Correct.
Is that from the DEA?
They were forfeited through the DEA, yes.
Okay, so them three, you can only spend certain places?
Right.
Okay, so the Ram and the 2012, the John Deere, the Honda, those are all, what are you gonna do with that money?
Well, actually, the Ram, I think it's appropriate to put back in the wastewater treatment plant because originally.
The money.
Huh?
The money from it?
The money from
Because
the.
they gave it to you?
Actually, first they gave it to the township building department, and then it wasn't being used, so we used it as a utility. So it's really the wastewater treatment plant's money. So.
Okay, and the other money will go into,
The other stuff will go into the fire department. The loose equipment type stuff will go.
can you pay wages with it, or overtime, or?
That just goes back
PTO?
into the general fire department
Okay,
fund.
and will we find out what this is, how much this is?
Sure, if you would like me to.
Yeah, I'd like to know how much we
Sure.
get for it. Thank you.
Yep. And I'll just say, a couple of these vehicles, if they're not going to allow me, and I haven't got the answer as to whether they're going to allow me a minimum bid, I may pull a couple of those out because I think we can probably do better either on Craigslist or some sort of another auction site. I'm going to kind of play that by ear because I want to make sure we're getting appropriate amount of money.
Very good.
Thank you. Any more discussion? Okay, so we have a motion by Bellinger, support by Chick. Let's have a roll call vote. Thank you.
Dockett?
Yes.
Otto?
Yes.
Bellinger?
Yes.
Chockley?
Yes.
Chick?
Yes.
Manley, yes. Zelenock?
Yes.
Thank you. That passes. Okay, I'd like to make a motion. I'm requesting that the Board of Trustees adopt resolution number 17573 to approve the millage rates at 0.7885 for general township operations, 4.4385 mils for police services, 2.000 mils for fire and medical rescue services, and 0.8195 mils for the building bond, and authorize the township supervisor and clerk to sign Form L4029 as presented.
I support.
Okay, I have a motion by Chockley and a support by Bellinger. Do we have any discussion on this item? Ms. Chick?
Is it a statutory reason that the supervisor and the clerk sign?
It says it right here on the form, so I believe
Oh,
it.
okay. I missed it, sorry.
So, anyway, so we sign it. Mr. Dockett?
Yeah, it says, from what I can understand, it says 1718, is that right?
Yes, these,
Okay, but on the back of the first page, the right-hand side, it says that goes from 2016 to 2020. The other one's 2017 to 2021. If this is for 16, 17, are we?
is there an error on the front page?
Well, I don't know. It says on the front page.
I don't know.
It says background on the first, the second paragraph.
No, it's
No.
That's
it's
stating-
2017-18 budget period.
Right,
Right.
right.
So that's what's got me confused. Why have we got 2016 through 20 and
Oh,
That's the
oh, I
same when the
can-
millage is.
21?
That's
Yes.
that's how long the millage it
Right.
covers.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, then what is
So
this-
every year this will show up on here
well, I
up
mean,
until 2020.
So is it, should we say from 2017 to
No,
2021?
no, because we got to approve the budget every year.
Well,
No,
I don't understand.
Yeah, Mr. Dockett, if you see at the bottom, it says, "Therefore be it resolved that the maximum allowable millage levies for 2017 are as follows," and then it lists the ones that I just read out loud. That's the Headley reduced amount. The original,
No, there's no Headley reduced on the fire
They-
medical because.
because it
that's
was
what-
new.
That's what we bid. I mean,
Correct.
That's what they got. So
Correct, but
The other ones are Headley rollbacks.
that's correct.
Okay.
And so next year, they'll all be less than that. Well, potentially the building bond won't be, that one has to be at a rate to cover our building bond.
I believe that it was illegal to vote for the two mills without the Headley rollback. I don't know how that happened.
The first year, it does not roll back.
Oh, so it will roll back next year.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, it
That
will.
explains it.
Okay, so we have a motion on the, by Chockley and support by Bellinger. Do we have any more discussion on this item?
One more discussion.
Go ahead, Ms. Bellinger.
So is it fair to point out that we, as a township for general operating, the electorate has allocated that we could ask for 1.16 mils,
No.
but we are going to be asking for 0.7885 mils.
No, because of Headley, we can't ask for any more than the .7885. We could ask for less, or, but we can't ask for more
Well,
than.
this is an honest question, then, well, then why would it say that we may be allowed to have 1.16? It's just, I'm just asking out of innocence
No, it
here.
said they were authorized by the electorate, and
Yes.
the general operating one is one of those indefinites, that when it started, it was 1.16.
Okay.
and then it has been reduced over the years by Headley, and now it is it's zero- yeah, 0.7885.
So
And
we
can't
couldn't
ask
budget
for
any more than-
no.
So yeah.
My understanding is we cannot ask for any more than that.
Any
We'd
more
have to
than
go back to the.
.7885?
We'd have to go back to the electorate and ask for more.
Yes.
That is the oddest thing. Why would it be one number here, but then they have this imaginary rollback that we can't go up to
Well-
1.1, I mean, 1.16?
That's the way Headley is, yeah.
And this is, and it is the law, you cannot do it.
So this is the most we could actually,
That's right.
okay. Well, thank you very much.
Without having to go back to the voters and asking for more money. And
Okay.
you can only go up to so much, because
Yeah.
we're a general.
It's
law.
just odd, because I thought the so much was the 1.16. And that's,
Yeah.
so thanks for clarifying.
Tom stole my thunder. I want to ask a question.
Oh.
Is the township collecting the maximum allowable millage from our Northfield Township taxpayers? The answer is yes.
I didn't think it was.
The maximum.
I didn't know that.
And they'll take every penny we can get from these poor people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If I may.
Ms. Zelenock?
So we will be updating our schedules once we get approval for all the L4029s, because the schedules are showing winter 2016 and they will be updated to show winter 2017. With that, for the Northfield Township, we are currently paying .7952. It's going to go to .7885. The Northfield Police is currently 4.4757. It's going to go to 4.4385. The voters did approve the 2 mills, and so Headley doesn't come into effect, so that would be 2 mills. Currently, it's 1.9134, and then the building bond is currently .8001, and it will be .8195. So the schedules that we presented tonight are rolling. So every time this new summer comes out, the new winter comes out, they will be updated based on the L4029s for each school district, for the county, and all those entities.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So, roll call vote, please.
Otto,
Yes.
Bellinger,
Yes.
Manley, yes. Chick,
Yes.
Zelenak,
Yes.
Docket,
No.
Chockley,
Yes. Okay, that passes 6-0. Thank you very
6-1.
much. 6-1, yep, that's right, sorry. Next item, the organization chart. Ms. Otto, would you like to
Yeah.
speak to this
So
one?
this was based on an organizational chart that was approved back in 2013 by the previous board. We've had some changes, so our attorney took a stab at it, and this is the draft that he has come up with. Just so everyone understands that the dotted lines around any of the entities mean that it's a group. The solid line means it's a position, so that's why there's a difference. The only thing that I would like to add on this is that under the Northfield Township boards and commissions is to identify which ones are actually commissions and which ones are actually committees. Even though it says committees, you have Parks and Recreation on here, and that's, I think we voted that about a year or 2 years ago as it being a commission. So I think we need to identify which ones that are commissions and which one are committees.
Well, there's no identifying on that, right?
Right, I'd like to have at least a note on there with some type of icon or code saying these are commissions, these are committees.
Ms. Chick, you have a...
Regarding the same item, I'm thinking if this is going to be a document that's going to be something we're going to use going forward, that there are committees and commissions, which some are permanent and some are not. So the permanent ones could be named, but those that are temporary, or there is a difference between a committee and a commission. One's permanent and one is not. And so it should say either just commissions Or it should say committees without titles in front of it, unless it's a permanent committee.
Okay.
Or should we separate it? The commissions and the committees?
Recommend it be separated.
Okay.
Well, since this was prepared by Mr. Maines, do you have some comments on this, Mr. Maines?
Just a couple. First of all, this was developed by our office under a very, very short time constraint. So this is, I don't profess to be any sort of professional artist, and this is far from the job. I'm sure somebody could do a much more attractive job of this than we've done. The lines are straight, and I can't claim any responsibility for that. The computer did that for me. I think with regard to the boards and commissions, I tried to keep this as faithful as I could to the excellent job that Trustee Otto did, which had all of these boards listed under it. I don't know that necessarily we need to do that. I think just as we've sort of called out the building and zoning department below, or the police department and the fire department, I think that we could simply say Northfield Township boards, commissions, and committees, and simply omit the list. I think that that would be okay, if that makes it more palatable. The one item that you think of these things at 3 in the morning when you wake up in the middle of the night. The box that indicates the Northfield Township Board of Trustees there, the bottom line of that should be up higher so that it falls in between supervisor and assessor, treasurer, deputy treasurer, clerk, deputy clerk. Because obviously those three positions aren't on the Board of Trustees. But we wanted, and this is the conversation I had had with Trustee Otto, is we wanted to make sure that it was clear who reported to the board and who reported to individual members of the board. So I think that that's one revision that certainly we need to make, is to move that line up so that it reflects that those three members are not members of the board, that they report to members of the board, but they're not themselves members of the board. Apart from that, the other, if I may, Trustee Otto, the other question that I had gotten was how to deal with direct reports versus indirect reports. That is something on which Trustee Otto has far more understanding than I, one of, I'm sure, many issues. But I think that that's probably something that we could reflect through the types of arrows that are used. Perhaps we could use a dashed arrow for indirect reports versus a solid arrow for direct. Regardless, I think if this is the sort of direction that the board wants to go, I think that certainly our office could help out to prepare a final draft that embodies all the changes that everybody wants made to it. We can end up in a position where we've got a good document going forward. The one last thing that I did want to point out, which I consider to be a substantive change, is the Northfield Township Boards and Commissions was down sort of at the very bottom of the document before. We moved it up at the same level as the Northfield Township Board of Trustees for a structural reason, which is obviously the boards and commissions are appointed by this body, but to an extent, they're independent policy makers themselves. And so we wanted to show them sort of as being on a similar level of the Board of Trustees, as opposed to really sort of reporting to the Board of Trustees. So that was a change that was made for that reason. But if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them, or if I don't know the answer, I'm happy to refer them to Trustee Otto.
Ms. Zelenock?
So I think the dotted and the solid information needs to go on the document, so people, when they look at the document, would know what that means. Yep. I like the fact of having the commissions and the boards identified. I think it's good to, if it's going to be a reference, I think it's good information to have. It's a one-stop shop. So I would prefer, as maybe Trustee Chick had indicated, that we separate those. But I do like them being named because I think it's good. Either that, or you could have it and then memo it somewhere else on the document. But I do think it's good information to have on this document. And that's my comments on that. And dotted lines versus straight lines, that's usually a good indication of direct reports.
So this is not a final, right?
No. Okay. So what I could do, because you did it in Word document, I could take it and just make the changes that he has indicated on here.
Okay.
But I did not want to make any of the changes until we came, at least presented it and seen the direction that we're going with this.
Okay. My understanding is the Parks and Recreation have called themselves a board, I mean, as opposed to a
Yeah,
committee
they were
instead of
sanctioned.
a commission, you know, so they say they're a board instead of a commission or something, so I don't know what that all means. And then there's the Downtown Planning Group instead of the advisory.
To me, I think they were sanctioned as a commission, not as a board.
I mean, they were, boy, back in like 2002, maybe even earlier, they were
Parks and
formed,
Rec?
yeah.
But they were a committee.
A
or
committee.
Yeah.
I'm
and
not
then they
sure,
became
they
a
were,
board
I
when-
thought they were a commission back then.
No, in the
No.
previous board, we made them a commission.
Okay, so you maybe.
We did, the
Okay,
last board.
okay,
The
because
last
I thought
board,
they, either that, because they were, it was more than a committee, I thought, because they were pretty powerful back
Yeah.
then.
Okay, great. So we can expect another version of this on our next agenda then, Ms. Otto? Okay, thank you. Okay, the next item is the snow removal
Can I
contract.
mention one thing, please?
Sure.
If we're gonna work on this, we used to get copies of the planning commission and ZBA and with all the names and phone numbers. And we don't have that anymore. I'm wondering,
Yeah, we have them, I guess they haven't been distributed.
It's all on the it's on the website, the township website.
Yeah, I think it's on
I can't put that on my wall.
Well, we can have Ms. Carlisle print you off one, and anybody else who wants one, sure.
I would like some.
Yeah, I think that would be a good thing, as Mr. Doctor, you know, just even having the township office, as opposed, you know, someone's coming in, they can even look, and yeah, I think it would be good information. I plant trees, so when I make copies, I don't feel so bad.
Hey, I would like a copy of those as well.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, the next item is the non-motorized path snow removal. And we are about to put out our bids for this year. And we have some sidewalks that we have responsibility for that I don't know were on the bid last year, but Mr. Wagner, do you have anything to share about this particular item?
So I see in your memo, it says that we didn't do like the community garden and the north, we actually did do snow removal for those last year, as well as a portion of the non-motorized path. And so really, I think what you're looking for is some direction as to whether we're going to include the entire length of the non-motorized path, or you know, that the board needs to have that discussion as to what Jennifer needs to put into the bid packet to have bid out.
And I believe that the residents along that path, since it's a 10-foot wide path, are expecting that we'll be clearing it. It is a recreational asset that the township now owns and I think needs to take care of. So my recommendation is we just go ahead and plow the whole thing. As you know, I can't imagine it being all that frequent. But anyway, just my recommendation. We'll see what the board has to say. Ms. Zelenock.
Can we just make a, not that,
Okay,
make a motion on that?
Sure.
Yeah, if you want to make a motion on that, then we can have discussion.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we include the non-motorized path in our snowplow, our snow removal bids.
Not to exceed.
What is this? Let me talk about this.
Okay, so I made a motion that we include the non-motorized path.
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion by Chalkley and a support by Ms. Manley. Any discussion here?
Do we know what the split was in the past, you know, on this piece? Is it 50-50? Was it 50-50? Was it 30-70?
No, there was no split.
I mean, the homeowners went and did their portion. Do we know what portion that was now versus
So,
what it's going to be?
The township has always done, let's just say in phases. So when phase 1 was done, the township took care of the, the clearing of the snow of phase 1.
That's
and then
helpful.
phase 2, and then so before phase 3 was placed, the individuals where there was a sidewalk, and I believe it was the subdivision that actually paid for that at that time.
Got it.
But that's when it was a a 3-foot sidewalk,
Correct.
not a 10-foot.
Correct.
In that portion that was towards the end, close to the elementary school, we had
That's
picked that up.
correct.
at that time.
And, you know, not to add more of a problem to this, but we've mowed that section also, so.
Right.
Ms. Bellinger?
You know, I really would like to see the property owners that are right there handle the snow removal for right there, and as well as cutting the grass for right there in front of their property. If the township has always done this section in front of the school or that section in front of something or other, I think that's well and fine. You know, it's just, it's really a shame that this sidewalk turned into such a debacle and is now continuing to cost more and more money, even though it's done.
But we did purchase the easement, so don't we have responsibility for it at this point?
We have to maintain it.
Right. So, I don't know. I know we've been plowing or taking snow off, have we, on the sidewalk here along Main Street that we didn't really need to do? Is that true, Mr.
Yeah,
Glenn?
we've always cleared all sidewalks on this property.
Right, but I mean along Main Street down toward the school, when we built that sidewalk. Have we been clearing that also?
You know, I'm trying to remember, do we do that? I believe so,
think
yeah.
Ms.
Yep.
Carlisle told me we did.
I believe so.
So we could avoid that one and do the non-motorized
Yeah,
path
because we don't
instead.
own any easements there.
We don't own any easements, but I really think it's our responsibility for that non-motorized path.
I don't believe we did in front of Westbrook, though. I believe Westbrook took care of that.
Okay. Okay,
I
anyway.
mean, don't the residents of the area benefit from the sidewalk? I mean, that's why we put it in.
But all the residents do in the area, not just those people with property there, so.
Right.
The trailer park,
Yeah.
the trailer park people too.
Yes.
And it's not fair for us to build a 10-foot sidewalk and ask the people to clear it, in my opinion.
They want it.
Okay. Well, all right, I made a motion that we include the 10-foot wide path in our snow bids, so it was seconded by Manley. If we don't have any more discussion, I'd like a roll call vote on that, please.
Zelenock,
Yes.
Chockley,
Yes.
Bellinger,
No.
Docket,
Yes.
Chick,
Yes.
Otto,
Yes.
Manley, yes.
Okay, that passes 6-1. Thank you very much. Okay, our next item is the bells. Does anyone have any questions about the bells?
The bills?
Bills. Ms. Bellinger?
On the paid one, on page 5, the very top item for applied imaging, it says the wastewater treatment plant and community center computer maintenance agreement. So if it has both of the wastewater treatment and community center, should this be like perhaps split in half, basically $750 for the two different accounts? It's just a question.
Okay. We can ask that question.
And I have another
Yeah.
one on the open first page. Under Department Roadwork 449 for Tetra Tech for non-motorized path trail. Is this the one that we were talking about with the snow removal, or is this something different? Does anybody have
What
to
page
know?
was that again?
Page, very front page on the open.
Okay.
Near about third from the bottom. Total of 4,600.
Right, 4,600?
Yeah.
That's might be actually their last bill for, well, maybe not, for the non-motorized path. It was for the non-motorized path.
See, because I thought we were already done with that, like done. So I was kind of surprised to see this, that we have another bill for the non-motorized path. This was why I was asking.
Sometimes it can take an entire month or more to get billed for work that was done in a prior month. And I know there were some inspections going on just recently, by them. So then probably this is due to that. We can get some clarification, but these are valid charges. And Mr. Ains, you're welcome to, anytime you think you would like to pipe in on any of these, feel free, but especially if I mess up the description. So.
I'd just say on that one that over the last 4 to 6 weeks, the contractor has been told over and over new things that were part of the cleanup that hadn't been addressed and that he needed to take care of before he got final payment. So that's why the engineer's been involved.
There's been lots of inspections going on, yes.
For the sidewalk.
Well, to just make sure that the grass is being, has been seeded and, a lot of things that need, all those final punch list things that have to happen. The signs are picked up, all those kind of things. So.
A lot of that's been because of complaints from the people where they've pointed out to us that he's missed certain items that we might not pick up driving by, but they brought to our attention and we passed on.
Yep.
It just seems as though maybe these extra, I don't know, it just seems like we paid, and if there's warranty punch list things, then it's warranty instead of us continually getting charged. Just concerns.
No, these were all included. It's finally they're just billing it out. It's not like, oh, we went out there for an hour. I don't believe that's the case. So. Okay. Mr. Dockett.
Looking at the bills here, I'd like to have everyone out there in TV land to know that it cost them $349,629.37 for this month to run your township. The next item, page 5 of 15, Center, Unemployment Insurance Agency. $1,108. Now, I didn't know we had unemployment. I thought that we paid our own unemployment.
It's a requirement.
Well, do we pay for everybody?
Yeah. You take taxes out, you pay for everybody.
Have we always done that? I don't remember us
It's on
ever
page
paying.
5 of what?
Page 5 of 15.
Right in the middle.
Right in the middle, it says benefits, Hendricks.
Yeah, your unemployment insurance agency is the state. That's your state money that goes to the state. It's taken out of your taxes, taken out of your payroll, and it's paid to the state.
Who is this?
Monthly or weekly? Oh, could be even. It could be weekly, whatever pay period you guys do.
Well, I've never seen this on the bills.
Wow.
Well, let's hope I hope so, because or we're in big trouble.
Well, I thought we paid our own unemployment. That people didn't draw unemployment on us.
Anybody can.
Yeah.
No, anybody can, as long as you're an employer, you have unemployment. You have to pay unemployment tax.
If you worked at the township and you got laid off, do you draw unemployment?
They take unemployment off of mine.
Excuse me?
They take unemployment out of my check.
Oh.
No, they just pay. They don't take it out of our pay. I mean, if you're a full-time employee, isn't it just the employer that pays that? That it's not taken out of your check.
It's a portion of it that's taken out.
And I think it's based on your salary. I'm sure Mr. Ains knows about this. I can see him looking at me.
I believe all employers get charged an amount, and usually it's a per month charge. And I can look into what you've done before here, but I've seen it elsewhere consistently.
What, where we paid insurance?
Yeah, the unemployment is just another one of those state requirements that when they give you all the money, they want some of it back, and so they require this to be paid by the employer.
Yeah, you're thinking that it's an insurance company. It's not an insurance company. It's the state of Michigan, actually.
I'm thinking if I got I don't want to argue, but if I got a paycheck, they always, they take it out of your paycheck. The unemployment tax. And I don't remember, and I know at times when people got laid off at the township, that the township had to pay.
Yeah, but there's some taxes, though, that the employer has to meet, has to pay equally.
Well, because if we paid unemployment tax for everybody that works full-time in this township, it'd be a whole lot more money than $1,100.
Isn't it based off of, it's based off of a point system?
Yes, it's a percentage of your total payroll.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
And the last thing I got to say is, that they call it North Village. If the people in this township let this happen, they will get what they deserve, a disaster. Thank you.
Okay. So can I have a motion to adopt the bills and pay them? Pardon?
Approve the bills?
Approve the bills, yes. Okay, I have a motion to approve the bills.
So move.
Do I have a second? Okay. Motion by Chalkley, support by Zelenock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you. That passes. Okay. We are at second call to the public.
You want me to mention that?
Do we have anyone who would like to share their thoughts with us at this point? Please state your name, your address, and try to keep it to 3 minutes. And welcome.
Thank you. David Gordon, 5558 Hellner Road. Just a couple of things watching the meeting. Trustee Bellinger, you made a comment about some correspondence that you got. I think it would be helpful if you could add that to the public record, give it to the clerk so that we know who you're talking about, if it's going to be, part of the public record. It'd be nice to know that. There was a discussion about the minutes and the various parameters that Ms. Lemble has to deal with now. There are recommendations that are made by the MTA, there's recommendations made by the attorney, and then there's also the interest of the public wanting to know what's going on. I was involved in the Grand Saqua case. I got deposed by Grand Saqua. And the attorneys that I'm familiar with say that the minutes can also be very helpful because they show the due diligence that has been done by the members of the board in regards to any particular issue. So making minutes vague is not necessarily always a good idea, or making them not attributing comments to particular people. And the MTA, they're a good source of information, but they don't dictate to this body decisions that you make. So as a member of the public, I would like to have minutes that were more reflective of actually what happened. In terms of the North Village, I was under the impression that 60% of the people that were first polled said that they really just wanted to have a park. It's morphed into something more than that now, and it may be a very popular idea with the majority of people, but I don't know that the morphed, what do they call it, synthesis plan has actually been put in front of the voters to say, is this the plan that you're looking for? So just to keep that in the back of your heads as you move forward, asking for RFPs and getting this kind of ball rolling about all the things that you need to do to make this park happen. Maybe a good question to ask the residents is, of those 60% of the people that wanted just a park, are you willing to pay a millage to support just having a park there and not having all these companies come in that are going to add revenue that is going to make this a neutral sort of development. Public input started out this project, and I think it should be continued throughout the entire project as you come up with new ideas for what to do with that parcel. And there seems to be a couple members of the board that are trustees that are always complaining about the taxes that are charged to the people in this community. I have no problem paying the taxes in my community. I think we get excellent services for the taxes. We have an excellent library. We have an excellent police and fire department. Medical rescue folks have come to my house on more than one occasion. And so I'm not against taxes, and I think that the people that keep complaining about taxes are also being paid for showing up at these meetings. So if they have a problem with how much money is being spent by this board to run the government here, perhaps they could give back the money that they get paid. That would be a start. Instead of just complaining, step up and actually put your money where your mouth is.
Okay, thank you.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, do we have anyone else? Okay, seeing no one, board member comments. Do we have anything that anyone would like to share at this point? Ms. Zelenock.
I'd be, Ms. Bellinger, if you'd be, put a resolution together on DT, I certainly would support it about the meters.
Thank you.
The other thing is, if people have issues, certainly come to this meeting and tell us what they are, but don't have them fester. We are available. Give us a call. Maybe we can work it out and get things resolved sooner as well. And then I do think it's going, we do have to keep in mind, we have to keep the people involved, certainly with the North Village, and make sure we advertise what's going on and announce it so that they are involved, so they do know that it's their property, they need to be involved, we need to hear their voice. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Chick.
I don't know if this is appropriate or not, but in response to Mr. Gordon's question about the 60% of the community that said they initially wanted a park, could Mr. Lippin speak to how the synthesis plan actually was created by the public? Or is it way too late, far into the end of the meeting to do that?
Oh.
Or can you? You know.
Well, we had plenty of workshops, and you can describe what, well, we're toward the end here. We'll have an opportunity in October, again, to talk about how all that worked, but people's opinions evolve, over time, as they get different things, different ideas. So I can see you would like to say something, Mr. Lippins.
I should say,
come on up.
We asked a variety of questions. There was a lot of input that went in. We did a series of online surveys. We met people at public events, and there are a number of ways of looking at it. But I would say the reports, both the raw data that was collected and summaries, are in in that plan. And unfortunately, I don't remember where the number the resident quoted is from, but I'm not sure if it's accurate. And I would, ask that the board reference that plan, or
Okay.
Maybe we can look at that in more detail at a future date.
I think it's on our website, though.
It is.
Right. So anyone can go to it and take a look at it.
I think, if I may, I think it's 65% came from a survey that was sent out in the taxes that people had made, said they wanted it to keep it as a park. And that's where I think that number comes from. That was, and I don't know if we had like 400 and some respondents that through the taxes, and they had indicated they'd want to keep it as a park.
Thank you for that clarification.
Okay.
I think
Welcome.
that it's broken down a little bit more and analyzed a little bit in the plan. So.
Okay. So Ms. Chick had a chance. You had a chance. Ms. Bellinger.
In response to the question from David Gordon regarding whom was the correspondence, it was a Shannon Koenig, Koenig. Shannon Koenig is where we got a letter regarding the smart meter DTE thing and the power cutoff concerns. To kind of like reflect what Trustee Dockett said, please let's have prayers for those contending with Mother Nature's recent offerings. I got some information that apparently Mr. Dockett obtained regarding the well site at the community garden. There's a well driller, Mike Sparrow Jr. I guess here we have a note at a price for $650. Talked to him about the water well at the Northfield Township Garden for irrigation only, not for drinking. It would need a padlock on the pump. And this gentleman apparently works at the sewer plant. So I just...
Ms. Otto.
Just so that you're aware, the Kiwanis Club did do some research, and they're continuing to do some research with a particular company to actually set up a well with electricity and everything. The problem with it is that it needs to be primed. So you just can't put a well in there with a pump and expect the water to come up. You have to do something. It has to have some electricity to pull the water up. It has to be primed, and that's what we were told. So we were researching it because the Kiwanis is looking at either doing something at the dog park or something at the community center to provide water.
Okay, Mr. Dockett.
Well, you talk to Mike Sparrow, he's a well driller. There is a well that he can get for $450. First of all, he went there and pulled the pump out because it's been in there for 40, 50 years. He got it out, working on it. There's a well there's a pump that you drop down to 4-inch, and it's got like a little Ferris wheel down inside, and it pulls the water up. You have to pump it. You don't have to prime it. You have to pump it. And when it's, but it's, and you don't need any permits because it's not potable. You know, I mean, you can't drink it. It's for irrigation only. And that's the price. He said $650. I talked to him because he's a well driller. He knows what he's doing.
Okay.
So if you're interested.
Okay, sure.
I have...
Sounds like a good idea. Get them two in touch.
Yes, I have some other things on. I'd like to, I agree, put this on the wall. I agree with Dave Gordon about the minutes and about the park. And I would like to say that we should buy and use local shops and services. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Manley.
Just quick. Just again, want to thank the members of the public for speaking their opinions. And if anybody has anything, I mean, before you want to come to the meeting, that's fine. Call any of us. We're all available. Our numbers are online. And to even what you said, Ton, about having extra hours, if somebody wants to come in extra hours to do a tax payment, to do something with the elections, whatever, we can always make those arrangements, you know, if necessary. So, you know, Christina was here till 7 o'clock tonight. I mean, nobody would have an issue with that, so.
It would be good if we had like a set, like every such a day, we're going to have so people can kind of like plan their schedules around us and say, oh, township's going to be open late on Thursday till 6. I can make it there after work.
Just throwing the option out there that, you know, people can always call us and we're available.
Yeah, some interesting ideas, so, you know, we'll talk about it at our retreat. Who we got? We've got some comments down there?
Yes. Ms. Bellinger, on that letter that was referred to earlier about the electric, if I remember right, that was dated today. I think it came in today.
No, the original letter received to the Board of Trustees on the September 7th at 2:58 p.m.
Okay, I'll have to look back then. I think I just received it today, but I don't know. Could be wrong. Anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Just-
Mr. Wagner?
Yep, just a real quick reminder, a week from this Friday is the Whitmore Lake Homecoming, Whitmore Lake High School Homecoming. So there will be a parade starting at 4 p.m. on September 22nd at Main and Barker. And Main Street will be closed for about a half hour to 45 minutes, and the parade ends here at the Public Safety Building.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. I appreciate all of your attention for these, all of this long meeting, and good night. Oh, I move to adjourn.
Support.
Okay, motion by Chockley, support by Zelenock. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're adjourned.